marketing. Okay. She will talk about the time of use clean energy saving. Thank you. Kim.
Hi everybody. Okay, listen up. Hurry up. When I talk, everybody gotta pay attention. I'm just kidding. Hi everyone. I hope everybody paid attention when my CEO was talking, because I'm actually here giving out Adele tickets and a possible electric vehicle. So if you guys weren't paying attention, you better pay attention now, okay? So, as earlier, my name is Ting. I'm the Executive Vice President of Micronaut Inc. And earlier our CEO talked about time of use of electricity. This is very, very important, and we're here to explain to you why, and why it's a trend, and why you have to catch on, and what is the government offering. So, to understand about time of use, you have to first understand what is happening with the electricity grid in California. So this is an actual profile, supply profile, coming from the California ISO on April 24th. So if you see on the left-hand side of the screen, you see this big giant mountain. So that is the supply of solar that's happening during the sun hours. And because of that big, huge mountain that's peaking up during the sun hours, those hours are relatively cheap. So when you go back, look at your home bill, look at your commercial property bills, you'll see that during the sun hours, you're getting very, very cheap pricing, because on the grid is oversupplied right now. So let's talk about demand. Because on an electricity grid, you have to balance every single day on the hour, every hour of supply and demand. So the same day, April 24th, you'll see on the left, we show you that, it's like a demand curve is on the right, and then the left is, you'll see that little mountain from the solar. So when you see this, you'll see that once the sun starts setting, your price goes up. So it's just very simple. Yeah, so starting 4 to 9 p.m., all commercial and industrial properties in the state of California are 3 times more expensive, because it costs the utility company 3 times more expensive to buy it. And get this, the only power supply that can provide you the power during those hours is gas generators. We don't have any more diesel or coal here in California since 2013, so it's really just gas peaker plants. And that's one of the reasons why they're relatively expensive. So with that, as you guys saw earlier, this slide, from technology-wise, we want to match the time of use from sun and night. Otherwise, a gentleman actually came over to our booth and said, hey, why don't you just cut the wire and become microgrid? Yeah, we wish we could do that, but unfortunately at this moment we can't. So we need to match up with the grid. We need to synchronize with the grid. So on this graph, you can actually kind of see, prior to today, we're relatively balanced. And today, we have what's called the duck curve. I think everybody's heard the saying before, but it's very, very real. That's why for the last 3 years, we had a lot of power safety shutdowns. And when electric vehicles starts to come, and they're coming, it is going to get worse. So if we care about our energy consumption and our future generation, it is time that we need to match time of use with time of supply. And so this grid imbalance problem is expected to get worse unless we all do something today. The good news is we can, by controlling time of use of buildings. So today, I'm going to introduce you guys what a clean virtual power is. So before we get there, let's talk about why buildings. This came from the Department of Energy, and I asked everybody, please Google this, because I am real. Everybody always go, what is she talking about? Building to Grid actually is a United States program that's been trying to launch since 2012. I think the first initial R&D from DOE initiated quite early, but that time it was mostly just about computers and cloud technology. But today I want to give you guys some tangibility. So this is the direct definition, part of the direct definition, which is that buildings use 70% of total US electricity. So they have an enormous potential and a critical role to play in an integrated transactive energy-based system. So let me explain to everybody what an integrated transactive energy-based system looks like. With money. So this is now we're talking about market. This is an average commercial and industrial facility. Actually, this particular load profile came from a 300-room hotel, and actually in Northern California. And so this profile is about 400 kilowatt use, and if you notice, 4 to 9 p.m., it starts ramping up in that energy usage at that building. So the question is, what can we do with this transaction? So with this whole entire 400 kilowatt, out of that 200 kilowatt consumption energy use would cost this hotel $146,000. That's what they pay PG&E. If we don't do anything about it, just half of that big mountain peak that you see at 4 to 9 p.m. So let's go back to the second part of the definition from DOE, which is called virtual control. So if you can take that integrated transactive-based energy consumption and you make it into a virtual control, here's what's going to happen. If you do it behind the meter, it can function as a virtual control system and enables and motivates them to transact and deliver energy services to the grid at the lowest possible cost. And that is the reason why right now the government, the federal government, the state government, and local government want you to buy energy storage system. So in a nutshell, that's kind of like what Clean Virtual Power is doing. We're turning buildings into power stations for grid. So basically, we would come out and we would install, own, operate, maintain all of the system that's on site for you. We would size the resource, either in a 10-foot, 20-foot, or 40-foot container, depending on your space. If you don't have space, there are outdoor cabinets that can be scattered around the area. We also will include 2 DC fast charging stations, dual ports, and plus solar whenever we can. And then we'll go into little details why. So we do all of this through point of control. Okay, so I'm not going into details because if you were paying attention, our CEO talked about that. So remember PLC if you want Adele tickets. Okay, so now let's look at what that PLC is doing at that same building. If we were at this building, at this hotel rooms, 300-bedroom hotel, and we took that 200 kilowatt, only half of the 4 to 9 p.m. load, okay, the hotel will be saving $36,655. Okay, now technically they're saving $146,000, but because we come in and we would operate, maintain, and everything, so instead of them paying PG&E 100%, now they pay for that usage of electricity 75%. So they saved 25% and kept a positive cash flow. So we encourage all buildings to jump on. Unfortunately, we are the only company that's offering this. We want more companies to offer this, and that's another reason why we're here. We encourage all the businesses to do this kind of service for buildings. But if you can't find one yet, to join as a building partner is very simple. All you need to do is provide Micronog a copy of your bill. You can go directly inside your PG&E account, and you can connect us as your authorized data recipient. We'll receive your data within about 48 hours, and then we will provide you a complete savings analysis and resource sizing. And then once you like what you see, you just sign a power service agreement. There's no lease, there's no purchase, there's no complications. You can buy if you like to as well, and then you simply just use, we manage, and then you save. So, this is something that no one's talked about today, which is very interesting. Last year, in August, the United States has signed an emergency executive order called the Inflation Reduction Act. Inside this Inflation Reduction Act, basically it is clean electricity incentives. So if you are making your buildings clean electricity, or you are providing clean electricity, you get to have tax benefits. You do not need to pay the government taxes. So this Inflation Reduction Act actually is estimated to be about $370 billion in investments that the United States government is going to create for the next 10 years. And by the way, a lot of people has already locked this up, so I will highly encourage everybody to jump on this. And the purpose of this incentive is to accelerate the deployment of clean energy, clean vehicles, clean buildings, and clean manufacturing. So once again, what that entails, you need to have energy storage system, okay? But the most important is how can you get your return back on that energy storage system is depending on when you charge the batteries and when you deploy the battery. And how do you facilitate the synchronization with grid supply? And of course, you need to have the proper energy and power management. So lastly that I want to mention is that the DC fast chargers are coming. So all of Micronoc Solutions or anybody that are partnered up with Micronoc that's in this room, I believe we've already been talking some deals. It's all DC coupled. This is very, very important. None of the solar, none of the charging stations will ever touch the utility grid. So this is very important even if you want to do it yourself. So if you want a good return on investment, you want to tap into this IRA incentive, you got to know how to size the system and connect and integrate. Okay, so just to remind everybody again, when you do it right, the businesses, the electricity users save money. You make money and you get incentivized. So what that looks like in a different scenario for everybody. For power service agreement users, their 25-year savings is $2.2 million just using a 200 kilowatt system at a building. So using the same building, this is a 300-room hotel. That's not bad. All it cost them was $5,000 to get started. And if they want to purchase, because of the IRA incentives, your 25-year earning is $7 million, and your net cost coming out of pocket using IRA is only $637,000. So I don't know if we have, money folks or business folks here, but if you're not in the clean energy game, you better get your butts moving. Okay, so last thing that I really want to talk about, because we're a smart city. Micronoc pride ourselves in baking corporate social responsibility inside every single product. And what's our product? Our product is kilowatt and kilowatt hour. We're electricity. So what that means is for every installation that Micronoc is at, if we are at your county, and I highly suggest if you guys are listening, please go tell your cities. If we are in your city, we are in your county, every single kilowatt and kilowatt hour carved out of that building, synchronized for the grid balancing, 5% of that is going back to the community. So let me put that into a little bit more perspective for everybody. So we did analysis. This is a 2019, this came from the California Energy Commissioner's report, 2019 peak hours of 4 to 9 p.m., non-residential buildings, just those hours is 12.8 gigawatt hours total usage, okay? And 4 to 9 p.m. was 2.7. So this is huge. This is Orange County, Santa Clara County, LA County. Each county is using that. I just used these 3 counties. So if hypothetically, it's not possible I can do this unless I'm an AI or something, but I can't do all. But hypothetically, if we installed a CDP in every single commercial industrial space to operate at 4 to 9 p.m., all of the businesses will save $500 million just for 4 to 9 p.m. annually. So another more perspective for everyone. So if every single county can save $500 million a year, and out of that $500 million a year, businesses receive 25%, and communities receive 5% or more, depending on how we can collaborate on a PPP relationship, like the cities we're talking about. That's a lot of sustainable money that can come. It's not new capital, it's existing capital that businesses already paid. So imagine if you're paying your electricity bill and 5% of that is now going back to your community, where your kids grow up, where your kids get your educations, where the next future generation is going to come. Think about that a little bit. You don't need to take any extra money out of your pocket. So with that, I'll just leave it that we know what we're doing. We're Kaizo participate. We're contracted with California ISO. We are also utility capacity service provider. We're one of the first in the whole entire world designed and won the bid with PG&E on this behind the meter resources. We're green button enabled in all of the utilities in California. We are also ISNet World certified grade A contractor, and we have our full in-house engineering, and all of our systems that we require from our suppliers are UL certified. And that's it. So if you guys want to get more information, wants to get some Adele tickets at Caesar Palace or electric vehicle, our booth is right there, come by. And the reason why we're saying that is on September, in September, there's Renewable Energy Plus, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people, you guys are going to be attending. Micronaut will have our clean energy corporate social responsibility event happen right at that same time, and we will be hosting it at Caesar's Palace, and we are giving away Adele tickets and EV cars. So get a sign up. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks to Tim. Okay. Again, Michael now has a booth over there, so go stop and take a look and have more questions. Okay. Our format again is each panelist will talk about his or her business for 3 to 5 minutes. Then after that, then we have to each panelist have one question. So after that question, then the audience can have a Q&A. Okay. Let's start with Jennifer Chen. She is in JC Commercial Real Estate. Okay.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Jennifer Chen, and I'm very glad to be here. I'm doing the real estate business for over 20-30 years, and today I'm invited to totally different field. I'm doing the residential, commercial business, all sort, because it's a small firm. And I'm invited to this clean energy program. I think basically solar. I think it has a lot of impact for the real estate business. For the residential side, I see a lot of small household, they was rushed to do the clean energy because there's some tax benefit. But I know that California still continue to have this tax benefit. And for the new homes, I know since 2021, the new builder, they will need to install for the solar energy also, for the solar panel. Okay, and for the commercial property, I know a lot of owner, they want to install it because just like the energy cost so high right now, so we're looking for the solar panel. And it's really have some saving, but it's long term, like your huge investment at the beginning, but then you have some tax benefit, and then you probably take every year a little bit, probably some discount. I think that's a basic of my business related to the solar energy. And I see, so both commercial and real estate and small, like a whole household in California are getting into, either getting into or, start getting into the this type, the solar energy installation.
Thanks to Jennifer Chen. Okay. Next one will be Ed Cannon. Ed is with construction financing, and he gets very heavily in the solar financing. Okay, Ed, can you introduce what do you do?
Good afternoon. My name is Ed Cannon. My company is CAS Financial and Construction Group, Inc. CASconstruction.com. If you don't have a card, I have business cards that I can give you. I am a general contractor, a qualified general engineering contractor. I'm also, we are now we've been in the solar business. We've been doing solar right now for probably about 25, 30 years. I have an excellent team. We started out doing residential, and we're doing commercial solar installation right now. Also, the company is I'm a real estate, a realtor, a broker. So we're moving into. We've been in the solar business for a while, and you know that every new structure that's built in the state of California has to have solar. Ting talked about all of the benefits that you can get, tax credits and everything that you can get from going solar. And we've had a lot of interest from clients that want to install, do the solar panels. Of course, that's why we come in, because there are a lot of older houses that need to. They want those energy savings. Okay, so I have a great team, and I'm now with Mr. Lee. I'm partnering up with him also to do solar. So if you don't have a card, I have brought some extra ones with me, and I can give you my information. We have right now 4 offices. The main office is in Oakland on the Embarcadero. I have an office down the street at 231 San Carlos there, so we're a local business. I also have an office in San Francisco, one also in Stockton. Just gotten licensed in Georgia to do business there, and getting licensed in Las Vegas. So we're kind of on the move. Thank you.
Next one will be Doug Foster. He is managing director of Silray, a solar company. Okay. You have a presentation?
Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, you talk about a smart city. To me, maybe I'm a little biased, but solar PV, battery energy storage, fuel cells, some of the innovative ideas like what Micronoc is offering these days, that to me seems like a future very smart city indeed. That's exciting stuff. So I'm actually kind of taking a little bit of a global perspective, and then we'll talk about Silray in a minute. But Silray is in fact a company that's been in business since 2007. We're a developer of solar projects. We do energy storage, we do EV chargers, we'll do anything related to renewable energy. This slide basically talks about where the market is headed. The market has seen tremendous growth since around 2006, 2007. But even now, we still see fantastic growth potential for the market in the future. We're looking at forecasts of about 15% compound annual growth in the industry for the next 10 years. So 5 times basically what its current size is today is the forecasted future growth. And then of course California leads that market. California has roughly 40% of the total solar installed in the United States today is in this state. And much of that in Northern California, right here where we are in PG&E's territory. So we have about 40,000 megawatts of solar installed in California. That's 10.7 million homes equivalent to in terms of their energy consumption. About 27% of the state's energy now comes from solar in the state of California. But not just that, we're generating jobs here. There are more than 75,000 jobs, including manufacturing and installation, that are currently based in California in this industry. So it's an industry we definitely want to protect. And the total solar investment in the state of California is over $88 billion right now, which is massive. Of course, one of the things that has contributed to that is the fact that we've seen prices decreasing over the years. We've actually seen a 50% plus decrease in prices for solar energy projects in the last 10 years. So what are the drivers of the adoption, the continued adoption of solar, especially in this environment that we have where the utilities are less and less friendly to solar? Ting mentioned the IRA, the Investment Reduction Act, which is now basically codified and guaranteeing that we have a 30% tax credit for the next 10 years until 2032. So this applies now to both the solar PV and to battery energy storage. But in addition to that, not just the fact that we've increased that tax credit from where it was at 26% to now 30%, there are adders for solar as well. So if you're able to say and demonstrate that you are placing this project in a low-income community, there is a 10% adder to the investment tax credit. So that's potentially 40% dollar-for-dollar reduction in your tax obligation. In addition, there is another 10% adder for U.S.-made equipment. Now, we're still waiting for some guidance from the IRS on exactly what constitutes U.S.-made. But once we have that guidance, which we're assured is coming very soon, that's, again, an additional 10% on that. That gives you now potentially 50% tax credit through the ITC. When you factor in for commercial projects the fact that you also get to depreciate the investment, when you have 50% ITC plus the depreciation benefits, you're looking at potentially 80% of the cost of a project offset through tax benefits, which is phenomenal. The other driver, a significant driver of solar in this economy, is the ever-increasing electricity prices. What I've done here is I've looked at just commercial electricity rates, but the same is very true for residential pricing as well. And as you go down, looking at B1, B10, and B19, I've left out a few of the rate schedules just so it's not complicated. But you can see what PG&E is doing right now. They're basically really jamming. The more power you use, the higher rate increase you're subject to right now. So we're looking at between 2019 and 2023, which is less than 5 years, we're looking at 4.5 years. In 4.5 years, on average, the rates have increased 50% for commercial electricity users in PG&E's territory. In just the last 3 years, we're looking at basically 20 to 30%, in excess of 30% increases in electricity costs. And then year to date, just year to date, we're looking at basically 7, 8, or almost 10% increases if you're a high energy user in that B19 rate schedule. So this is a massive driver. People need relief from these increases, and we continually hear that there are more requests from PG&E to the CPUC to further increase rates. I heard you were mentioning, Jacob, today, 15% for the next 5 years, is at least, for the next 4 years is at least what we're hearing. So further rate increases expected, okay? So additional drivers, I've been in the solar industry since 2008, and one of the things that's been so satisfying to see over that time is that, when I first got into the solar industry, the traditional solar panel that we were selling at that time was maybe 12% efficient. That's basically saying about 12% of the photons get converted into electrons that strike the solar panel. We're now actually installing panels with 21% efficiency, and that number keeps increasing. So the power of a typical solar panel back in the day was about 200 watts. We're installing panels now that are 500, 550, 600 watt panels. So you've seen this slow but incremental and continuous improvement in the technology. Of course, now what the solar panel manufacturers are doing is they're just making them taller and taller and taller. So we're getting more power, but the efficiency has also been increasing as well. So it's really gratifying to see. In addition to that, what has happened with the perfection of the manufacturing process is, of course, we've seen efficiency in those manufactured processes, therefore price reductions, and as we talked about, we've seen costs going down. So in general, it's a down-sloping curve for cost of installation in the solar industry. And then, again, also gratifying, seeing reliability improvements. Most solar panel manufacturers have a 25-year warranty. Some are even warranting their panels for 30 years now. And so they're warranting them for that long because they know they're going to perform well for that long period of time. So it continued reliability improvements in the processes, not just with solar panels, but with the equipment that goes along with it too. In particular, the inverters. We've seen many inverters now that are much more efficient, but also very, very reliable and long-lasting. So having reliability in the industry is a significant driver for movement in the industry as well, for further growth. So everybody knows the benefits of solar, but I just always love to talk about it. Of course, it's a great way to reduce your operating costs and hedge against inflation from the utilities, which is, of course, particularly intense right now. Most projects are able to save money from day one, especially if you're financing the project in some way. And we mentioned it's highly reliable. I think I'm dropping here. But it is a way to add value, not just to the business, but it adds value to the property as well. So you're receiving significant benefits in the enhancement to your corporate image, enhancement oftentimes within your business community. The goal of decarbonization is increasingly looked at strongly by vendors and suppliers and providers these days through their business relationships. And of course, it's a great way to take advantage of tax credits and have a fantastic return on investment. Most of our projects that we're installing these days are seeing a payback of under 4 years, but usually 3 to 3.5 years. If you're able to take advantage of some of the significant tax credits, I've seen projects that are paying back in close to 2 years. So this is Silray, founded in 2007, 16 years in the solar business, which is exceedingly rare. We're dedicated just to the commercial solar business. We do residential projects, but it's just because we're asked to. We always say yes. And then, thank you. And of course, we've got a team I've been in the solar industry since 2008, like I said. So we've got a highly experienced team, and it actually just so happens that we are both CPUC certified, woman-owned and minority-owned company. So there you go. Thanks very much.
Thanks to that, give so detailed solar market information. Okay. Next one, home improve. Home Smart Improvement. Okay.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. My name is Jacob. I'm the CEO of Home Smart Improvements, and we are a general contractor, specialty contractor for SunPower Corporation. We take on difficult projects that most solar companies cannot do, such as specialty roofs. We operate in tough markets such as San Francisco. We take on the toughest projects in the country, and we specialize in solar battery storage, electric, retrofit of appliances, main service panel upgrades, EV charging stations, windows, and many other things that are related to the energy sector. Thanks so much, guys.
Okay, looks like all the speakers and the panelists talk about solar, okay? It looks like solar is very hot, okay, in the market for the residential and commercial. So I'd like to have one question to each panelist. First one, we start with Jennifer Chen. Okay, Jennifer, so you are in real estate. I know you're doing very well, okay? I'd like to ask, in 2022, how many residential, okay, inquire solar installation in your real estate business?
Actually, I don't have exact number because because I don't do too much retail. But anyway, let's say percentage probably is better. I think maybe commercial real estate and the residential business, I see about 50-50, around. Actually, I have a question I want to ask expert. Can I maybe ask?
Okay, so that increase 50% inquiry?
Yeah, about 50-50. Commercial real estate and residential real estate, they are about 50-50.
Yeah, okay, because we know starting from 2022 in California, all the new house construction need implement solar. Okay. Okay, next one is to Air Cannon. So you do construction, you do solar financing. So again, how many customers asking for financing, or how many just complete pay off?
100%.
100%?
Asking for financing, yeah. That's very high interest. And so I have lenders. I have my preferred lender, okay, and he can. We've done many deals post-COVID. Now we're very busy. We're in the process of closing out probably, I would say, about 10, 12 deals now. People want to finance because they want to hold on to their money, and they want to use, OPM, other people's money, and the credits and all the stuff that they can get, and several of these deals were big commercial deals. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So to Doug, I know Theory for 15 years, right? Okay. So I'd like to ask, you do solar system. So what's the largest size you have done in system installation?
Well, I joined Silray in 2016, but I've been in the solar industry since 2008. So as far as Silray is concerned, the largest project that we've done is a 1 megawatt ground mount system for the U.S. Coast Guard up in Petaluma, U.S. Coast Guard Training Center in Petaluma.
Okay. To you, the second question. So currently, your customer, how many are asking for battery? Install the battery?
It's ever increasing. What we're doing is we're basically in the process, of course, of transitioning from the current NEM2 structure to NEM3. What that is doing, NEM3 going forward reduces the value of energy exports into the grid, right? So right now you're getting whatever the time of use rate is, so let's say it's 26 cents a kilowatt hour, 30 cents a kilowatt hour. You get that value when you export into the grid. Under NEM3, it will be reduced to, say, 5 cents a kilowatt hour, by 75% reduction in value. So with that, the only way to combat that, you can't do it with just solar. The only way to combat that transition will be to use batteries and basically run from the battery supply, charge the battery with the solar, run from the battery during those periods of peak pricing, 4 to 9 p.m. So increasingly, we will see batteries become coupled with almost every solar project. But all of our NEM2 projects right now, most all of them are just solar only still.
Okay, all right, okay. So the next one, the smart home improvement. So continue the battery question, okay? I see you do somehow, right? You do for somehow install solar. So when you install, when the customer asking for battery, those customers, are they very name brand focused, or you can supply any kind of battery? Because power of the Tesla, right? A lot of customers asking for power. So what's your experience?
My experience is generally you get what you pay for. Usually when you buy things cheap, you buy them twice. And particularly to the solar market, the longer a deployment is left untouched, the stronger the return is on it. And what we like about the SunPower product is that you get a comprehensive 25-year warranty on the product, but it has a 40-plus year operational life cycle. So that allows the system to pay for itself many times over. In regards to storage, there's a lot of misconceptions out there, and it's just because of lack of general education in the market. When people think of a battery, they just think, hey, well, you know, lights go out, this thing's going to turn on, everything's going to be the same, right? And what the public conception and what the battery technology's capabilities are, there's a delta in between the two. And so there's an education process in having a homeowner or a business owner understanding what the capacities and capabilities of the battery system is and what economic benefits are and are not there. And as this gentleman had said, typically under the NEM2 approach, the return on investment, by the time the battery would get to what we would call a payback period, would be at the end of its useful life cycle. Now that we've moved into this new rate structure under NEM3, the battery will act as a capacitor and basically store and allow you to supply the home as an island in the times where the economic benefit of the export is low, and then it can also be programmed to export in the high value times as well. For example, in August and September, there's a particular time slot between 8 and 9 p.m. that a kilowatt hour is actually worth, it's like over $3. Right now, a kilowatt hour generally exports under NEM2 around 30 cents. So there's definitely going to be an educational learning curve because the way that they've structured the new program, the value of the credit varies hour by hour, and people's lifestyles vary by hour as well. Some folks are working from home, so their house is kind of like a hotel room, right? And then some people are at home using power all throughout the day. So there's going to be a challenge as far as like saying, hey, this is what the actual economic viability is. We're going to have, the time is really going to tell us, you know, case by case, what the economic viability of the battery will be moving forward.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. When you talk, I see Ting she's not. Okay. That means she agrees, right? Okay. Now my question to Ting. Okay. Now, looks like solar is very hot to the residential commercial, right? How does that impact to Micronauts business?
No impact. Actually, what we like to have more and more solar companies to try your best not to be on grid tied. So do your best on DC coupled. And that's what we always share with a lot of people, because what the utility and the grid operators need is that electricity control. Like you said, like when, which hour, at which home, which hour these people are going to be using and these people are not going to be using. So that's going to be the key for all the solar players. And then we pride ourselves that we're actually able to complement each other and help each other out as you guys are building out your solar projects.
Okay, all right. Thanks to all the panelists, speaker. Now we open the question to the audience. I have a question, okay? Jennifer has a question. Okay.
What happened for the 3.5 months of no sun and rain in LA? What happened? Did you have enough battery backup?
In LA? Well, I can tell you that the way that LA did really well was behind the meter storage. So a lot of behind the meter storage kicked in to reduce that peak demand when the sun power is like losing its juice. Yeah. So many times that at least in Southern California, they did not have to reach into the gas peaker plants to turn on when there's that intermittent.
You know, the rainy situation that we had was represented the end of a very long drought period for us. So what we saw for the 5 or 6 years preceding that was solar performing better than it was expected to, because we use these models that basically look back over our historical weather. And so what you're seeing is I won't call it a blip because it was pretty significant, but you are seeing something that is outside of our regular modeling. And so yes, solar did perform a little bit less than expected, but anybody who has had solar for the last 5-6 years got a lot more energy than they were predicted to receive.
Okay, Jennifer has a question, okay.
Actually, I have a technical question for the contractor because, okay, if I'm the commercial owner and my roof most are flat, my roof condition is so-so. And once I put the solar, will be very heavy and it's going to have 25 years, 30 years guarantee. Should I replace the new roof before I put the solar, or just let it go and just put the solar? This is just a technical question. Anybody want to answer? I don't know.
I think that that's a great question, and I think that's like one of the most important things as part of the decision process of whether a home or a building is a viable candidate for solar. Typically, commercial buildings are flat, right? And I'm a big fan of fluid applied acrylic coating systems. And it's very important that the substrate that you're landing the solar on, whether it's ballasted, which means it's not mechanically fastened to the building, or if you're actually physically penetrating into purlins or rafters, that the substrate can handle the test of the time, because it is a costly thing to remove and reinstall solar. So what we like to do as part of our vetting process before initiating into permitting and construction and deployment is to evaluate the time and current condition of the roofing system to come up with the best cost-effective solution to get that substrate into position to where it will match the timing of the life expectancy of the solar system. And what I really like about coating systems versus traditional, whether it's a TPO roof or Bermudan, torch down, etc., is that the areas that are underneath the solar are being shaded by the panels, and so the degradation process from the UV isn't nearly as bad, meaning that the roofing under the solar doesn't wear out near as fast as the perimeter. So what I like about the coating systems is it allows you to perform ongoing maintenance around the perimeter so that you can avoid heavy construction the second time.
Sorry. And I was also going to say, I'm not a tax advisor, but I do know that there are those companies that have received guidance from their tax advisors that the portion underneath the solar of the roof replacement can be applicable to the ITC, the 30% ITC. So the roof costs, the re-roofing costs, a portion of that, actually you can take the 30% tax credit as well.
You answered the question, and then the tax credit.
We all think
We audience give question. Now the panelists starting question.
Well, I do have a. Can I? So I do have a question. This is for more real estate owners that as a investor, because they normally lease out a space. So I did it one time, kind of quick look, when I was on the airplane and looked down, on the commercial building. It's only probably like less than 10% of the commercial buildings are installed with a solar system. So I start wondering why, these people don't do that, right? It's such a no-brainer, right? If you are able to get a tax credit and save so much money. And then I think someone told me it's more likely because they are really just renting the space to people. So I just want to ask, from these panelists here, what is stopping these real estate investors like Jennifer and her group of people to put in the solar, and how, if they do, and how they're going to be able to benefit from it? Or are they going to charge their tenant the power now? They can become the utility company, right? So that's my question.
I was just going to say that I think a large percentage of the commercial properties out there, I don't know the actual number, but I would say a large percentage of them are either owned by large investors that actually rent or lease the buildings. Triple net leases are very common, where the tenant actually takes care of the utility costs, and much of the costs of operating the building are their responsibility. What we find is if a tenant is involved in a long-term lease, solar can and does make sense for commercial customers, especially now that we're looking at the 30% ITC with all the other tax benefits associated. If you have, say, a 3 to 3.5 year payback on a 10-year lease, it can make sense for a tenant to go solar. But it's been less common over the last few years because we were actually seeing the ITC expire. We were seeing it go down to 22. It was eventually going to go down to 10%, and that would not have made economic sense for a lot of those type of lease customers, triple net lease customers. So I think now it's very plausible that we still will see more commercial customers, even if they don't own the property themselves, looking at solar as an investment for the long term.
So the only thing that I just want to add is that I don't want to brag about Micronaut, but we actually was exhibiting over at BOMA last year, and this is one of the topics for a lot of commercial real estate property owners. What do we do if the tenant require clean energy and the owners doesn't want to make that investment, and if they do make that investment, it's only for ESG reporting, and one of the ESG reporting requires the tenant to provide the electricity bill in order for them to qualify these incentives, especially with IRA or for California's SGIP. So one of the things that a lot of people came to Micronaut is because Micronaut has a three-way program. So as earlier, Dior, you were talking about so can the business owner or the investor or the property fund, can they become that 4 to 9 p.m. utility provider? And the answer is yes. When you sign up with Micronaut, you now can. So earlier, as I was mentioning, Micronaut actually owns, installs, and operates all of the system on site. So there's no lease, there's no purchasing, there's none of that that's required from the tenant or the owner. And we are directly connected to receive the electricity bill. So we're perfect for large financing companies if they need the ESG reporting. So I do believe that once, as we get aggressively, especially with the IRA coming out, if we get to enough commercial real estate funds and tenants, I think we can definitely make this happen a lot quicker now than before.
The only thing I would say I would add to what these guys said is the accelerated adoption of solar has really been leveraged by financing. So especially in the residential market, you know, if we would have had this conversation 12 months ago, they had these great 20-year terms, 0.99% financing. It really was at a point from a financial standpoint where I'm consulting with someone. They have the personal resources to do it, but it just didn't make financial sense for them to leverage their own capital. Right? It made more sense to leverage at the bank's capital and allow them to bankroll their savings for a small portion of the return. One of the biggest, I think, entry point challenges in the commercial market is the lack of viable financing options. There's a lot of boxes that have to be checked financially. So, you know, for example, in the residential market, a lot of these, they're just stated loans based off of income. It's like a really straightforward thing. They have decent or good credit. They're going to get approved versus a lot of the commercial projects that we've done. There's this full background. It's almost like buying a house, right? And, you know, for a lot of business owners, time is money, and they really can't allocate their CFO to put together their last 3 years of reportings and all the details that the bank wants to see. And then aside from that, you know, I would say we're typically saying 6 and 8 point interest rates for commercial lending, and that's before this huge rate hike that's happened with the Fed. So I think that that's probably the biggest barrier for why there hasn't been you know, massive adoption on the commercial side, aside from the fact that the majority of the buildings are owned by somebody other than the occupant.
And it's becoming, on the commercial side, and from the lending side, commercial and residential, our lenders are looking at, as well as investors, are looking at the equity that's in the property. Okay, so if there's equity in the property and they want to move forward, you know, on a deal, they're able to do that. You know.
Okay. Thank you. Any more questions?
My question is, for those non-profit organizations like school and church, they don't have income tax. How they benefit by
Well, we all know.
That's a great question, and it's one of the things that the IRA has done to correct a very serious problem within the industry, was that any nonprofit organization that didn't have a tax obligation could not take advantage of the tax benefits. The IRA actually corrected that and makes now nonprofits available to receive that as a direct payment from the IRS. So they can now receive the 30% tax credit for the ITC. It's great news, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, I think we need to end this session because the AI session coming on, they are waiting. Okay, thanks to the panelists and thanks to the audience. Okay?